Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It's that time of the week again. After a busy Easter weekend, it is match preview showtime, and it is a big test for Neil Harris's Gillingham this week as they take on automatic promotion chasing Stockport County now. And I'm pleased to say for this preview show, I'm joined by Russ of the Scarf Bergara War. I'll put the Twitter handle in the description at the bottom of the video. It's very simple to remember. It is at County Podcast. So go and give them a follow for all the Stockport point of view in the run up to and after the game. Russ, first of all, appreciate you coming on. Stockport running into some nice form at a very key time in the season.
Yeah, it's coming at a very key time in the season, like you say, especially after the seemingly poor start that we had at the beginning of the season. So, yeah, we're very hard to beat, very hard to score past. I don't think we've conceded. Well, we kept 20 clean sheets this season. That just goes to show, we've got a really good defence when they're all fit. So, yeah, coming into form, we're quite excited, although, got to say, fairly nervous about Saturday, given your form, especially your home form.
Yeah, it is very good. So we'll have a look at the current form of both sides. In the last six for the Gills, it's 3 wins and 3 defeats. They've become a little bit inconsistent, but all them wins have come at the Priestfield, and we'll get to that in a couple of seconds. In terms of Stockport County, 14 points from the last 18 available. That's 4 wins and a pair of draws, undefeated in the last half a dozen. If we break it down to home and away form, Gills, 15 points from 18. It's a solitary defeat since the turn of the year. That came at the hands of a very good Bradford City side. Stockport on the road, 15 points from 18. So I've written down irresistible force versus a movable object. I will let you viewers decide who is who. And even further, Russ, quickly, was since the 14th of January, both played 18 games. We've won 10, you've won 10. We've drawn 3, lost 5. You've drawn 6, lost 2. So we've taken 33 points and you've taken 36. So it's fair to say that over the last 3 months, it's going to be 2 of the form sides in the division coming up against each other.
Yeah, I'd expect it to be a really good game quality-wise as well. I saw that stat as well, albeit I saw a slightly different one from the turn of the new year, and we're both on 32 points, actually, but I'll take yours. But yeah, I'm expecting a really high-quality game for this level. Like I say, we are a good footballing team. We don't knock it long or anything like that, unless we absolutely have to. You lads are flying at the minute. Okay, you're a bit inconsistent, but like you say, at home, our fan base is fairly nervous. I'm not sure if we're sold out, but we're not far from it coming down to the Priestfield. So really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should have the makings of a really good day in terms of the spectacle on the pitch and also the atmosphere in the stands. I think that could potentially be 2 back-to-back home games where away fans are going to sell out, because I'm sure I saw a tweet somewhere today that Leyton Orient have pretty much sold their quota for next Tuesday as well. So obviously we play you and then you'll all become Gillingham fans the following week. Such is the weird and wacky world of football. You alluded to it right at the top of the show, and I want to talk about it because I did write it down. You only won 2 of your first 11 in the league.
Yeah.
Since then, essentially, you've probably been the best team in the division, aside from maybe Leyton Orient and a couple of others before I get shot down by fans of other teams. But yeah, how do you see that now, Russ, that start to the season? Was it just a natural bedding in period in terms of just into league football again, or is there just a little bit of regret that even with 1 or 2 more wins, you'd be set right inside the top 3 with a real chance of going, I'm not saying you haven't got a real chance of going up automatically anyway, but obviously an even better chance, whereas at the moment it's still sort of, you're on that precipice where it could go either way in terms of automatic, or you might just have to go and contend with the lottery that is the playoffs.
Yeah, there's a couple of angles to this. It depends. It does depend on your outlook. So the poor start, I've put that down to the jumping standard, because obviously we won the National League last season. So glad we're not in that, by the way. Now you've seen Notts County and Wrexham. Just the jumping standard. Plus, we brought in, I think it was 8 or 9. I want to say 9 players. So they were brought into the squad and almost put into the team immediately. That took a lot of time to bed in, and with the jump. So it took us quite a long time, longer than we thought it would, to find our feet. So I think we had something like 5 red cards in the first 7 matches. I'm not putting that down to obviously personnel, but it's not down to the new personnel. It's just how it went. I think the refs are pretty poor anyway. In terms of where we've been since then, once we started to click, it properly happened. I think Bradford away was the time when early October, we beat Bradford away 1-0. they said that we were the best team that had been to their place at that point, and I was thinking, well, we do play, we play pretty well, but I wasn't convinced then.
Sure.
And then as time's gone on, I don't blame the start of the season for not being a few more points ahead. There's been games recently where we should really have beaten teams and we haven't. Maybe yourselves included in that when you came to Sedgley Park. Other teams did the same. Doncaster Rovers did the same. Mansfield, to a certain extent, I was surprised by them. They kind of did the same, bit more controlled. So we've probably missed points in the last few games that would have us second, perhaps, than third when where we are. So it's a bit of a summary of the season there for you.
No, it's good, and that's the entire idea of these types of shows. Is we want you to tell us about what we're coming up against, and it's not just about the here and now. We like to find out about the season as a whole and the club as a whole. And we've already mentioned it's two of the form teams in the division, especially are going on our home form currently and your away form currently. There's nothing to split the two sides. Looking at your last three, you come to us Saturday, and then you've got to go to Carlisle and Orient. So again, I suppose in terms of what side of the fence you want to sit on, there's probably a little bit of trepidation. You're coming to a side that probably given a lopsided view in terms of a betting perspective because we're 19th in the table. So they're going to have you as odds on favourites. But it's a slightly different picture now because of our form since January. But then the other side is Carlisle and Orient means you've got it all in your hand. You're playing teams in and around you. If I said to you now, from them three games, bearing in mind your two home games, Rochdale and Hartlepool, no disrespect to them clubs, if you had to hand-pick two,
I know,
I'd say both of them would be in your top three to finish the season at Edgley Park. What would be an acceptable return from the next three on the road, starting with the visit to Kent at the weekend?
I'd happily take 3 points from those three. I mean, they're really tough games. I'd probably want at least 5 though, because our away form is a lot better than our home form. We seem to struggle at home to score goals. So I'm going to say let's take 5 from those 3. So we're going to get a win. We're probably going to shock Carlisle, I would say.
I think I'd tend to agree. If you come out of it unbeaten, you're going to be in a pretty healthy position. Not because of even if you've not won any of them, but essentially you're ticking games off for teams to be able to overtake you as well.
Don't forget, that's what I'd like. Realistically, that's me heart talking. Realistically, we're probably going to get beat at Orient because they are the best team. I mean, the points tally says that. I'd like to think we'd dig out a draw, a doggy draw down at your place, and possibly beat Carlisle. That's probably what my head's saying.
I think I'd take that, to be fair. I wouldn't be disappointed with a draw. It's you've mentioned your away form being better than your home form. Gills have got 34 of their points from 20 games at the Priestfield. Stockport, 32 points have come on the road from 20 games as well. So again, there's nothing to split the two teams. It's sort of fractions of points here and there over all these aspects that we're talking about. I want to talk about Stockport as a club, though. You're in a great position, and we've seen it historically for years now. Teams that come up from the National League and go straight through, get promoted again back to back into League One. I think it's fair to say that it might happen next season as well, without trying to get too far ahead of ourselves because of the two teams that you've mentioned. If Stockport were to go up, either via Wembley or finishing in the top 3, would you say you're in a position to be competitive in League One? Because I've written down just a few of your players, not to terrorise or terrify the Gills fan base ahead of the game, but it's just a squad that's just full of real quality and proper professionals all over the pitch. So I sort of tried to take sort of the spine. Neil Byrne, Fraser Horsfall, Carl Noyle, good January signing. Callum Camps has been around the block at League One level and done well. Anthony Sarcevic, Will Collar's having a fantastic season. Hippolyte, Madden, Wootton, Ola Offey, dare I go on? It's a squad that's, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but if you look at it, you wouldn't go, he stands out a lot more than everyone else from an outside perspective. But you've got a lot of players that are probably 7 and 8 out of 10 generally all the time. Would that be a fair assessment of the squad?
Yeah, I'd say so. Where we've got a really, really strong, depth in there as well. There's players that you haven't mentioned that would probably get a mention.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably worth noting as well. This isn't by luck. This is by investment. Basically, we've got an owner. I don't know if Gills fans know. We've got an owner now who's a local businessman. He's worth just shy of $1 billion. He wants to get us into the championship within 7 years, and I think we're 3 years down the line in that.
Okay.
I've spoke to him personally. He's fantastic. He's really committed to getting us there, and he wants us to have this 22,000 seater stadium. So to answer the question at the top of all that, would we be competitive in League One? Yes, because we would buy more.
You'd invest again, of course.
Invest again, yeah, to try and achieve the targets.
It was just something, because I think we was both on Gabe's EFL show a few weeks ago. I remember being on there with you, and he's asked that question to a few teams. I think one of the questions he levelled at an Orient fan was he thinks they'd struggle a little bit more potentially because they don't have a number 6 that could play the game and play on the half turn. Stockport, for me, just looked like a club and a team and a squad, like you said, that's just ready-made to step up to the 3rd tier. And you can only emphasise that point, like you say, if your chairman's got that attitude towards what he wants to do. And if you do go up, you've then got 3 years, essentially, to get to the championship, which was his aim when he first set out. So that sounds really promising from a Stockport County fan perspective, of course. And also, on top of that, you've got a man in charge who I've written down Mr. Promotion. I think, is it 7 promotions Dave Challen has been in charge of across
we have
various teams?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
How is... We all know a Dave. The first thing I remember about Dave Challoner was that throw-in. Like, end of the 90s, start of the millennium, was just that ridiculous throw-in. And then obviously it sort of got usurped by the people like Rory DeLab. And now we see people all over social media doing somersaults and all sorts of nonsense. But Dave Challoner's, it's not just Stockport that he's done well at. He did really well at Hartlepool. He got them promoted into the Football League. He did all his grounding in non-league as well. So it's not like he's a manager that's lucky. Again, like you said, the success hasn't come through luck. It's come through sound investment, a proper plan and a proper structure. How far can Dave Challoner take you? Because I assume if you keep progressing and doing what the chairman wants to do, then Dave Challoner's more than happy to stay, which is probably slightly against the norm for this level, because generally a manager at this level, if they get a couple of promotions, then, dare I say it, bigger fish in the pond start circling and they move on.
Yeah. I think he could stay to match the ambition, to be honest. And I know that sounds very football manager, but I think he can. The reason why I say that is because he's played at that level, so he should know. I know time's moved on since he played, but levels are still levels, aren't they? He should know. He should know what a player, what attributes and the attitude that a player needs to play at that level. It's probably the championship. I know he got to the League Cup final with Tranmere. I think they were in tier 2 at the time. So I would like to think that he can take us and match that ambition. The problem comes, like you say, when a club that is bigger and has bigger ambitions comes along and says, "Well, have you?" And you can't begrudge him that.
Of course.
Thought to myself, if I'd be disappointed if we got to League One and then someone like, I don't know, Barnsley came along and said, "Oh, we'll have you," and then he went. But if someone like Sunderland came along, something like that, you'd go, "Well, yeah, fair play."
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think, because the thing with Dave Challoner is he moved from Hartlepool to Stockport for the project, and because he lives around here, in terms of in the middle of Merseyside and Manchester.
Sure.
So it's a really good place for him to live. I think it'd take a big carrot for him to leave. And if the club continue to match his ambition, which, the club outstrips his ambition at the moment, as long as the two going toe to toe, if that's the right thing, in parallel kind of thing, then I can see him staying for a long time. It's worth noting, though, when he was at Field, he did get them promoted. I think once or twice. I'm not too sure, but he did have a bit of a soggy season where he did get the sack or he left. So he's got it in him to fail. I hope he doesn't, but
of course,
every manager has, haven't they?
I think that's just the nature of the beast in terms of the modern game now. It's very rare that you get more than probably 8-10 games without a win to not be under pressure. And I mean, we can probably look at our manager at the moment and say that's probably a slight anomaly to that theory, because in any other situation, Neil Harris would have been long gone before the takeover and the transfer splurge in January, because 6 goals in half a season and 6 points adrift of safety in itself told the whole story. But we now understand he was working with at least one hand tied behind his back. And I'm pleased he's got the chance to prove that he is still a good manager, because he was very good at Millwall and Cardiff. And he nearly kept us up last season in League One. So there are anomalies, like I say, to the theory, but generally, yeah, the trigger does get pulled quite quickly in the modern game. Back to the more immediate, which is Saturday afternoon, 3:00. I always say this, we're recording on a Wednesday, so we don't have any official team news, because generally it's a day off for most Football League clubs. Press conferences are done on a Thursday, and add in the fact that most teams played on Monday this week because of Easter as well. So it's all a little bit different. But what's the vibe coming out of the camp in terms of injuries or suspensions or anything like that we need to know about? Was there any picked up over the Easter period, or are you reporting a clean bill of health? Please say no.
Yeah, no. I think it is a clean bill of health. It's Jacob Davenport might be a doubt. I think I've got that right. It's a funny one, actually, because we don't really get much in the way of news out of the club about injuries. You have to watch the press conferences and things and the post match. So no, I think we're pretty much good to go. Will Collar's back. Sarsevic's back. They were out recently. They were misses. Horsfall's back. So yeah, I think we're good to go for Saturday, mate.
Marvellous news. Absolutely brilliant. Mind you, they all played, I think, in the reverse fixture, and we managed to get a point. I just remember that game I just felt so sorry for Tristan Abrahams, who played up front for us. I think that was his first start, and essentially spent 75 minutes doing doggies between your centre halves as you tried to play it out from the back. But it did his job, and we nicked a well-earned point. And
yeah,
it was never going to be the prettiest performance, but it was about, a means to an end and all that type of thing. I'm hoping we're going to be on the front foot because we're at home. I don't think the crowd would allow us to play that type of game again. And I think our home form dictates that we won't play that way again, because we're a very different side to what we are on the road. It's picked up on the road since the changes, but we're averaging about a point. I think it is a point a game, exactly that now. I think it's 9 points from 9 since, and obviously we're going along at pretty much 3 a game on our own patch. So it has all the makings, like we said, of being a really, really good game. I've got your lineup from Easter Monday, the victory over Newport County, I believe, 4-0. So nice close game. So Stockport will arrive confidence in tatters. Any changes, or you think he's going to stick with what performed so well just a few days ago?
I think unless anyone has picked up a slight knock, and that's the only thing it'll be, a slight knock. I think he'll name an unchanged team. Pretty sure of that. He's done that a lot this season and last season. So I can't really see any changes unless he's got something planned differently. And just going on to just quickly back to what you said before, he might slightly change the personnel depending on how you set up, or how he thinks you're going to set up. Because it was 2 banks of 5 at Edgeley Park when you came, pretty much. Well,
I'm not even sure it was that attacking.
But I said it on our podcast at the time. We couldn't go around you because you were defending wide. We couldn't go over you because you were defending deep. We couldn't go through you because you were just 2 walls. If you do come out at us, I'm pretty confident, depending on who he selects, Noel definitely will play on the right. Rydell will probably play on the left. They will probably look to get in behind you wide. So if you do come out, you're trying to step out, that's probably where we're gonna get it. So hopefully there's more clear-cut chances for us on Saturday than there maybe was against you when we played you at Edgeley Park.
Going to be interesting, because I've been looking at it over the last couple of days as well, and I know we went to like you say, it was meant to be a 3-5-2, but it was never that in the truest sense of the word.
Yeah.
So I'm then thinking, do we match up? Again, I don't think we've got any more injuries or suspensions that's different to Monday. The only big doubt is over Connor Masterson, who's been immaculate since he came in on loan from QPR. I think we did miss him Monday. Will Wright's not played a lot of football, and it was his poor header that led to the opening goal at Sixfields. Unfortunately, he just needs to head it out of play, not back into the middle of the 18-yard box. I'm thinking if Connor Masterson's fit, we might go to a back 5 again. But like I say, in a truer sense of the word, so that you can then get a number 10 and 2 strikers on the pitch as well, rather than essentially just having 10, 11, maybe 12 behind the ball, like it felt at times at Edgeley Park. So if Connor Masterson's fit, I'd be inclined to leave Will Wright out, and I'd play Masterson, Maxima, and Robbie McKenzie as centre backs, just to try and, because you're going to play a front two. You're going to have at least one centre midfielder that wants to get on and run in behind.
Yeah.
But then the only risk if we do that and our wing backs get caught high up the pitch is then you bring the Carl Noyles into the game. But like I say, we're going to have to be the ones that might have to make the running. So I'd like to see us try and be on the front foot. So I'd go Shay Alexander and I'd give Lewis Page a start. I thought he was very good second half against Northampton. That's the first time we've really seen him since he arrived on a short-term deal till the end of the season. I'd make one change in the middle of the park. I'd bring in Ethan Coleman. I don't know if you noticed him much. He was very, very good at your place. We got him from Leyton Orient in January, and a lot of Orient fans were like, oh, don't know why he signed him. He was on loan at Bromley. I thought he was absolutely brilliant that night. He's long, he's rangy, gets about the pitch. I just think Tim Diengs looked a little bit sort of off the pace and a bit tired the last couple of weeks. So I'd play Ethan Coleman next to Sean Williams, the captain. I'll bring Aidan O'Brien in. He scored with his first touch on Monday, and then I can't see the front two changing of Ollie Hawkins and Tom Nichols, because they've generally been very good since they came into the side, and it would give us a focal point. We'll be the opposite of you. You pretty much know that. We know that. We're going to be fairly direct. We'll try and hit Hawkins, and then we'll get the likes of O'Brien's and the Nichols to try and run off him. And if the wing backs can get on as well and cause problems, then all well and good. My only concern is if Connor Masterson's not fit, then I think we'll have to play a back four, and then it's going to be interesting. Do we shunt Robbie McKenzie inside, or do we persist with Will Wright, who didn't have the greatest game on Easter Monday? Yeah, it's got all the makings of being a very intriguing afternoon. Like you said, you think it'd be a good game. I think the way we approach it will have to be different. I think the way you approach it will be pretty much the same. Is you'll keep the ball, you'll try and pass it, and you wait for your chance to come. And hopefully, from your point of view, we get brave and then you exploit the gaps. But yeah, looking forward to it immensely. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I think Gills are, selling plenty of tickets, which has been the norm since the takeover. And obviously you're bringing a big following, which is to be expected given your position. Last question before we finish up is obviously the one that we always like to know. 5 o'clock score will be.
I'm going to go for 2-2.
Desmond, that'd be a good game to be fair. Something of a thriller. We're on the same lines. I've written down 1-1.
1-1.
I just think all the statistics, Russ, point towards it being a draw. Your away record's pretty much immaculate. Our home record's the same. I don't think a draw's a disaster for either side. It gets us to 48 points. It keeps you right in the mix in terms of the automatics. We've already said our home form, your away form over the last 20 games is pretty much identical. We're two of the form sides in the division. I can't split it. My only concern would be if Connor Masterson is not fit, then I think that Carl Wootton will maybe come into his own. But if Masterson's fit, then we'll give you a proper game. I'm not saying we won't give you a proper game. I'm not writing off Will Wright by any Gills fans, or if anyone's a fan of Will Wright. But we're a better side with Connor Masterson in it for me. Should be good.
Should be good. Yeah, I've got to say, not been this nervous about an away match for a long while. Just looking at our fixtures and trying to think when the last time was. Plus, I'd settle for a point anyway, because you're playing Leyton Orient. You've got a big say in the top end of the table.
Our next three are you, Leyton Orient, and Bradford.
Yeah, and then you've got Salford on the last day as well. I think they kind of dropped out a bit, Salford, but you've got a big say. So I would definitely take a point away on Saturday, 100%.
And I don't think Gills fans would be entirely unhappy with a point as well. It keeps the unbeaten run at home going, and it gets us closer to that ever nearer mathematical safety mark. For what it's worth, I think we're safe anyway. But it'd be nice to have it confirmed, and then you can maybe see a couple of those fringe players in the last couple of games and not have to worry about the stresses of the playoffs or the top three.
Yeah.
Gills fans, Stockport fans, if you are watching, it's been a pleasure as always. Big thanks to Russ for coming on and joining me. It's been a real pleasure having you on, mate. All the knowledge that we need to know and all the inside information ahead of the game on Saturday afternoon. Myself and Stocky will be on Matchday Live duty for the game at the weekend, so come over and see us in the rain and men before the game starts. Always interested in what your score predictions are. Let us know down below if you're a Stockport fan or a Gills fan. Comment what your team will be. Comment what you think the score will be come 5 o'clock. Who will be smiling? Maybe we'll both be smiling at 5 o'clock. Who knows? Do not forget that all these videos are in association with Art of Football for all your retro and vintage prints, bucket hats, sweatshirts, hoodies, jumpers, football shirts. I tell you every week, go and check them out. It's a brilliant site. There's everything on there for every football club you can imagine. Enjoy the rest of your week. And until next time, up the Gills.